Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how I made an extra tray for my Crafter's Companion marker rack that you can see here. And don't you see, there's just enough room for an extra tray there, and I have 12 extra markers that I need to put there. So I decided I'd make a tray because you can't buy a single rack. And I didn't want to buy a 6-pack, so I don't necessarily recommend this project, but hey, maybe you're in that same situation where you just need one more tray to contain your markers. Here you can see a store-bought Crafter's Companion marker rack on my table, and they're not expensive. You can get like 6 of them for like 22 bucks on Amazon. But anyway, I only needed one. So I am going to try to duplicate this as close as I can. I have a piece of plexiglass here, but you could use matte board. That would work just as well. Matte board and cardstock. That's what I was going to use. But when I was in my matte board scrap box, I found a piece of plexiglass. So I'm like, well, even better, because I actually have I have like 4 clear trays and I have 6 black trays, and they all fit together, and I just have that assortment because some came with my water-based markers, and then I had some from another thing that I bought. So yeah, it's a hodgepodge. I probably should have just bought the 6 black ones so that I could have them all the same color, but I didn't want to have extras, and I'm cheap. So here we are, friends, in this ill-advised project. So what I'm doing now is I'm just measuring, and I determined that the edges of the tray are 3/4 inches wide. So I took the remaining scrap of my plexiglass. Like I mentioned, you can use matte board. And I'm cutting 3/4 inch strips from all of these edges. And I wanted to have the side and the back of the tray be extra sturdy, so I'm gonna do 2 of those glued together for each of those pieces. Now, to cut plexiglass, it's really easy. All you have to do is take a straight edge and score it. I'm using a plexiglass tool, but a utility knife should work just well. And then you just snap it on the edge of like your table. Any place where you have a right edge, like a board or the edge of your table, you can just snap those pieces of plexiglass. So you don't actually cut through the whole plexiglass. Just keep that in mind. Now, if I was going to do this with cardstock, I'd actually like kind of, accordion fold some paper, some cardstock to go in the tray after I made the tray out of matte board, but that's not what we're doing here. But should you find that need, you can do that too. This is going to be the most random project that probably nobody's going to build, but maybe it will be entertaining. So I took those 2 pieces of plexiglass that I glued together, and I glued it to the back edge of my plexiglass base that is the same size as my store-bought tray. And I'm using the tray actually to just prop up against it to hold it at 90 degrees while it dries. And now I am gluing in the sides, which are also 2 plexiglass widths thick. Now this plexiglass actually is from an old frame. I'll buy frames and then I replace the plexi with real glass. It's not as thick as like plexiglass you'd buy at the hardware store, so keep that in mind. It is much thinner. If you had commercial plexiglass, it would be thicker and you wouldn't need to do the 2 rows, but it might be too thick for those inner dividers. So now I'm just measuring it up, making sure it's the same size, and it's going to sit on top of the tray. And I'm also doing this so I can look down through the tray and make sure that I line the dividers up perfectly, because I want this to sit on top of my marker tray, and I want all my markers to be lined up like little soldiers, looking all aesthetic and beautiful in my bedroom at my, fun art desk, because you gotta have a place where you can do your non-work art, right? Yeah, I'm ridiculous. I am ridiculous, friends. So sorry for this. And those pink tools are basically just silicone tools. They're from the Mod Podge company, and I use those just to wipe out any globs of hot glue, because my hot glue game is rusty. I know. Look at this. Thank goodness nobody's going to be examining this close up. Now I'm using a heat tool to remove hot glue strings. So if you ever use hot glue to craft and you get all those annoying strings, just blast it with your heat tool and it will make them disappear like magic. I don't know where they go. They just like float off into the ether. So actually, I think they just kind of melt down to the closest thing that is near them. But now let's take a look-see. Let's see how it works. Hopefully these all fit. My markers will fit, because it was so freaky. I had just enough room for 1 more marker tray, and I had 12 markers left from this Artify collection. I will share a review on those markers next week. They're actually pretty good. That's why they're going to live upstairs on my fun art desk, because it's a great set of markers, and it's a really, it's a really complete set. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to put those up there and use those, because I certainly have enough markers in my work studio, as you are probably well aware. There you can see it lines up perfectly. There, I've popped it on that shelf, and you would not know that that was homemade if I didn't tell you, right? well, I guess if you look closely at the side, you could totally tell that it's homemade, but I'm happy with it and I hope you enjoyed this silly tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you like stuff like this, and until next time, happy crafting.